There are a million different things you can do following my color strata theory, but the first thing you gotta do is make your strata. This quick tip is going to walk you through color sorting, cutting them up, sewing them back together. Let's get started. Now, before we can start playing with our colors and putting them in the order in which we will keep them in through our whole color strata, we're just going to cut the folds off. And you can see I've already been working on this to get a little ahead of all of you, but I wanted to show you. It's real easy. I can do about 4 at a time, and I am not going to cut the selvages off. We're just going to keep those for aligning later, but I'm just going to lay this down here, set my ruler on. Doesn't need to be but maybe 1/4 inch, and I take the folds out so that I've now taken every one of my 44-inch strips and turned it into a 22-inch strip. So if you started with 2 of every color, you now have 4 of every color. And what I would like you to really do is go through and keep these like this. We're going to go 4 stacks as we work, okay? As we open this up, and I'm going to jump into caffeinated mode, but before I jump into caffeinated mode, come in here really close with me. I want to show you that I am going to be building the organization of my colors right now so that as I organize these into order, I want to get them in the color that I like. Okay, here we go. Okay, now that you have all 4 of your piles sorted and organized, you're actually going to need 2 piles that are these 22s by 2.5. So let's just slide these out of the way, keeping the fabrics in the correct order. These next 2 piles we're going to do kind of a rip cut from my days of construction. We're going to cut down the almost center of these. We're going to make a 1-inch and a 1.5-inch cut on these. I only want to cut 3 or 4 at a time. So, and as I lay them out, I want this to be pretty darn accurate. So I'm taking time to look at the edges to make sure they're coming together nicely. And then as I'm coming here, I've got to be careful because look what I just did. If you're watching close at home, you're probably throwing a bad call ball or something at your screen saying, hey, wait, you just switched your colors. I know, I'll put them back in the right order. Now, as I'm looking down here, I'm going to put a yard and a half. I'm going to put 1.5 inches under my ruler, and I'm going to leave 1 inch out here. I'm going to make sure everything is as organized as possible. Take a nice, slow, but firm cut through here. Okay, now let's get these things back in the right color order before we go any further. You may not be noticing what I was dealing with here, but what we really wanted was our light blue on the bottom, and then our medium blue, then our dark blue to our purple. So what I did is I accidentally got the middle of my color order switched around in here. So once I have this back together like this, I'm going to slide these over while I work. And then the key to keeping it correct, right, is now for my next stack of 4, I want to come right off the pile from the top and work down like this. And here, and here. And then the same thing, like I said, we're going to do this to both of these stacks over here. We're just going to lay that out. So I've got my 1.5 inches marked out, just like that, and my 1 inch cutting through my stack. And now the trick is here is to go ahead. See, here's that purple. We're just going to set that light purple on top of the dark purple. And now we're keeping everything in color order. And that's the whole key to the color strata, is keeping everything in the color order. I'm going to blast through and cut all these real quick, and I'm going to come back and show you how to build all 6 piles of the strata. Now that all your slicing and dicing is done, I'm glad you're following along 1 step at a time. You should have 6 piles in front of you. You should have 2 that are 1 inch, 2 that are 1.5 inch, and 2 that are 2.5 inches, right? The first 3 stratas you make are going to be the real easy ones. You're going to sew all the same sizes together. And again, if I haven't said it enough, all the color orders stay in the same order. And all of this is done with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And I do recommend that you press in between seams to keep everything really tidy in your construction. So your 1 inch strips are going to be set aside and consumed to make a cute little baby strata like that one, right? And then your 1.5 inch strips, or I should say one of your piles of your 1.5 inch strips, come together to form your medium sized strata. Okay, again, color order is the same. That one's been used, so I'm just going to set that aside. And our 2.5 inch strips, one of those piles, is going to do the exact same thing for us, and here it is. Just like that. Okay, all of those are the same size. So that's 3 of your piles and 3 of your strata. The next 3 strata, let's just set these aside, all are about the same length, but if you look closely, they actually have a fun variety happening because we're mixing the sizes. I hope you can see all of that there. Maybe that's a little easier for you there. So check it out. Color order is all the same, but the movement of the color is on steroids because of the way we're piecing. So you've got some mediums, you've got some bigs, you've got some smalls in each pile. I want to show you how to organize that. Okay? Now let me take a quick second because I don't remember how many colors I have. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Rats! It doesn't divide evenly by 3 because we need 3 piles. 12 does. That would give us 4 strips of each size, and then we're going to have an extra one. It'll make sense. Watch this. Now, let's take these strips and kind of give ourselves some room in between them. Let's go to our big strip and count down 5. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and that works out really good because it's between a obvious color break. So let's take these first 5 real quick, and I'm going to now flip these over, because this is my color break right in here. Okay, now I'm going to count down 4, because remember, we're dealing with some odd numbers. So there's my 4. I'm going to flip those over between the oranges, just like that. We're going to do the same to all of our piles before we start mixing and matching, because it just makes it a little bit less confusing that way and helps us to stay organized. Like this, like this. And no matter how many you have, you just need to divide it by 3 so that you can do the scramble to get the 6 stratas. It makes life really, really easy. Okay, so hopefully you can see that I've just divided my different size piles up. Now the first and easiest strata to make for this mixed strata is to start with your wide strip. And now I'm bringing the middle from my medium size, and look, it's just going to go right on that same color order. And then I'm grabbing my skinnies and I'm bringing my skinnies over from the end. And so I should be able to go from blue to yellow just like that. Okay. So now let's think. This one here's got blue and it's a medium. So on top of that, I want to go ahead and let's put this wide one here. And then I need to have one that's going to end on the yellow. And so that yellow here, oops, looks like I got myself a little ahead of schedule. So let's do this instead. Let's move that back here. I'm going to put this skinny blue one down. There's that purple. And then this one here is going to end in the yellow. So again, I'm a blue to yellow on that one. And my double check is I have 3 sizes left. I've got a blue here. This is going to come together in the middle. And then I'm going to go ahead and lay that on top of here. So I've got my blue to yellow as my double check all over again. Phew, it worked. Super simple. Like I said, we're just going to put these together with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Take your time. I don't recommend going up and down in both directions. What I really recommend doing, as I said earlier, starting from your cut in where you took the fold out and making sure these are all nice and lined up like you see here in this strata. And that way it gives us a really nice point to trim, because once all 6 pieces of strata are made, we're going to go ahead and make these into subcuts.